Oz stands for the Agroforestry and Woodlot Extension Society. We provide extension and tree planting services to agricultural landowners in Alberta.
It originally started as the Woodlot Extension Program in 2000, so we have 20 years of history in Alberta. And it was started in conjunction with a group of forest companies, some land management groups, the Government of Alberta and the Woodlot Association of Alberta. We did management plans for woodlot owners so that they could have a strategy to manage their woodlots and recognize some value from the woodlots that they had on their lands. A woodlot is basically any place that has trees, so they can be very large, they can be very small. So if you have trees, by definition, you have a woodlot. In 2010, we realized that we needed a bigger mandate. There were more values on the landscape that we weren't addressing, so we formed the Agroforestry and Woodlot Extension Society.
Two main purposes, and that's education as part of the woodlot component, and also actually delivering on projects. So Oz does an education component, and Oz will actually manage projects right from start to finish. And a lot of those projects entail doing site restoration work or tree planting of a variety of sources and locations. A lot of the projects are located along riparian areas, so that's a big area that Oz does, is riparian restoration. Another is actually managing and assisting management of shelter belt systems in Alberta. So those two components of sites we do as management projects, but we also do education in relation to those projects. A riparian area is primarily defined by it containing water, and it can be in three different forms. It can be in a flowing riparian area, which is a stream or a river. It can be a lake, which is a collection of water, or a wetland, which is actually a combination of water and trees. And the other is shelter belts, or sheltering type projects. A shelter belt provides shelter, just like the word says. It can be found in many different forms and shapes. It all depends on what you're wanting to shelter, what's there, and what sort of features you're trying to protect. Lately, we've been looking at designing shelter belts in a different manner, and they're called eco-buffers, and it's more of a mix of species of trees and shrubs, and it's more a natural-looking shelter feature, but it provides the same physical sheltering features once it grows to a certain size.
It incorporates more native species and a more diverse mix of the native species as well. So as opposed to just having a single row potentially of spruce trees or coniferous, maybe if you were going to do something like that, you would integrate multiple different species of coniferous trees. When you have a more diversified stand of trees, one particular pest is less likely to come out and take all of those trees. They were also designed with the idea that they would fill in over time and provide a more consistent barrier. And they also provide a wider variety of ecosystem services and functions as well. Because historically a lot of wetlands were cleared for a number of reasons. Basically, a lot of people are looking for ways to restore the functionality of those wetlands, improve water quality, and planting trees is one of the ways that they can do that.
Well, I think in Alberta, we've been removing riparian areas for years, ever since settlement started in Alberta. Part of the reason for that is people didn't understand the value of riparian areas and, to a certain extent, treed areas. That knowledge has changed over the last 15, 20 years. And I think landowners specifically are realizing that there is value at having trees on the site. There is a value of having those areas where water collects because it keeps replenishing the water table. It keeps providing a more diverse habitat, things like that. And as individuals have learnt that, their philosophy have changed. Trees are the solution. Trees can provide so many different values that most people don't realize that. The biggest value that a tree can provide is a shelter. And that shelter can be for animals, it can be for people, it can be for buildings. Those trees will provide shelter, and the shelter is from the winds. The other benefits are wildlife habitat for birds and animals, bees, native pollinators. The other is biodiversity, and the other is just aesthetics. Trees look nice. Most people are more comfortable if they're looking at trees than they are if they're looking at just buildings.
I think maybe one of the best examples I could provide is an experience from a landowner. And what he had done was he had cut some strips of pasture land through his forested area, and his intention was just to provide shelter for for his cattle. But he had one year where he didn't get his cattle onto that pasture land, and the grass grew and it went to seed. And he realized that the seed crop that was on that property was significantly higher than the seed crop that was on the land that he had cleared for the intention of growing grass seed. Since then, he's been managing that area for grass seed, so he has lower input costs and higher return on his investments. You know, that is definitely one of the benefits of agroforestry practices.
We are here to be an education provider. We are here to give people advice. We do the planting and stuff like that on the side as kind of a added benefit, but I think the main focus is to provide education on best management practices for forested private lands.
I'm a forester. I had no idea about, you know, forestry and agriculture and the combinations of them. I've been benefiting from the education that I've received from my participation in the Agroforestry and Woodlot Extension Society. I've become very passionate about it. You know, as I learn more and I see the benefits that are happening on the landscape from the work that we're doing, it's exciting work, and I've just been excited to be part of it.